Hello, today we are going to be making some Central American style beans. Start with your favorite type of beans or whatever beans you want to use. Next we're going to use a pressure cooker. Put your beans in to, not too much with a small pressure cooker like this, but however many you think you can get in there, and fill it up to, halfway or the maximum fill line. Once the pressure cooker starts to boil and spin and whistle, let this continue for 30 to 45 minutes. And I did not state before, I used 1 pound of beans in this small pressure cooker. After your 30 to 45 minutes, in my case it's been probably about 40 minutes, go ahead and shut your stove off. In the meantime, you could have peeled your garlic, and when you feel that you have enough garlic, add more, because there's never enough garlic. You can also go ahead and peel an onion. I already have one peeled. And that's about how much I'm going to use. Well, I'll use it all. You're going to have to mince all this up fairly finely before we start to saute them in a separate pan. Like I said before, chop your garlic and your onions to fairly fine. It doesn't have to be too fine, because if you're Italian like me, a little chunk of garlic never hurts you, and in fact, it makes it taste much better. Next, you saute your onions and garlic in butter. I used about 1/4 stick in this so far. It's also a good time to add salt. I'm going to start off with about 1 teaspoon of salt. Later I will probably add more, because dried beans tend to require a pretty good amount of salt. At this time you also should add culantro, not to be confused with cilantro. This is culantro. If you've never used it before, they look like this, kind of a leafy herb. I'm going to cut it up finely with a pair of scissors and add to the sauteed onion and garlic mix now. While that is sauteing, I'm going to take a good sized chunk of queso blanco, authentic Spanish or Mexican crumbling cheese, and I'm going to cut it into small pieces and add it to my mix here, my sauteed onion and garlic culantro mix. We're going to add the queso blanco to the mix and let it melt a little bit. Sometimes I do add some French goat cheese. It makes it taste kind of silky, but I do not have any today. At this time, once the garlic and onions are thoroughly sauteed, we're going to add our beans. You may or may not need to drain the water. There's not a terrible amount of water in it this time, so I'm not going to drain it. That'll let it cook and evaporate a little bit off while it's mixing with the onions and garlic. Once everything is thoroughly mixed and you have a nice slow boil going on. It's time to mush them with this masher. You don't want to get it too mushed, but a nice, kind of consistency where the beans don't have that whole bean look to them anymore. So you're not going for a puree, you're going for a nice mashed consistency. At this point, add another 1/4 to 1/3 of a stick of butter. Turn off the stove, salt to taste, and you've got it. Nice, authentic tasting, Central American, Panama, Nicaragua style beans. This is where I learned it from. Her daddy. Bon appetit.